Shalom, shalom, friends. And it's good to be back here with you again. So, of course, what's on our mind today? Things are rough in the Middle East. Once again, we turn our attentions to our friends and family and neighbors in Israel. These really are our family. Literally, often figuratively. And they're in our thoughts and prayers, struggling to maintain their lives in a world that has become increasingly violent and hostile. And yet, of course, the truth of the matter is that Israel has always been struggling for all these years. I thought I would review a little bit the history of the prayer that we say for the state of Israel. And now, many of you know this prayer. We say it every Saturday morning. We've said it every Saturday morning for years and years and years. And where did this prayer come from? It actually was composed in 1948, just after the establishment of the State of Israel, by the chief Ashkenazi rabbi in Israel, whose name was Rabbi Herzog, and who received help in composing this Hebrew prayer from the esteemed author and poet S.Y. Agnon. Two huge figures in Jewish history at that time who composed this prayer that would very quickly become a part of the prayer service on Shabbat mornings. And it has been our practice all of these years to continue to make this prayer a part of our service. But let's look at it for a moment. What is it that we're praying for? What are, in fact, the words that we use at the time that we turn our attention to Israel? It begins, Avinu Shebashamayim, our parent that is in heaven. Tzur Yisroel v'Goalo. The names of God, there are many names of God. We spoke about that a little bit today, individually, some of us. And one of the names of God is Tzur, which means rock. In this case, as we address God, we remind God that God's our rock, V'Goalo, and our Redeemer. To be a Redeemer means to be a rescuer. And in fact, the creation of the State of Israel was a huge effort of rescue. I don't have to remind you what 1948 was like and the difficulty our people were in. Believe me, today when we look back at it, people say, oh, well, they could have found the Jews who were leaving Europe could have found someplace else to go, I'm sure. No, it wasn't that easy. They had been displaced. They had been housed in Europe. They yearned for a future that they themselves could control, and the state of Israel was that place. The prayer goes ahead. Barech et Medinat Yisrael Reshit Smichat Gulatenu. Bless the state of Israel. And I want to point out here that we are praying for the state of Israel. That is, Israel as it is today. And I know that there are congregations that leave out the word Medinat, but our prayer is addressing the modern state of Israel. It may not be what we want it to be. It may not be the land that we desire it to be. It may not fit our expectations, just as the United States is not necessarily the land we envisioned it to be or the land we wanted it to be. But nevertheless, it is the land we have. And so our prayer is for the state of Israel, who is called here. The state of Israel is called Reshit Smichat Geulatenu, which means the very beginning seeds of our redemption. Now, this is clearly a messianic vision. That is to say that Israel, at the time this prayer was written, this was nothing less than a vision of peace for the entire world, for the entire universe, that Israel would be a light among the nations and would blaze the way into finding a way of being peace. Reshit Smichat Gulatenu. Our prayer calls it the beginning of our redemption. Shield us, Hagain like the word Magain David. Shield us. Hagain Aleha be'avrat hazdecha ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shield us with your love. Spread over Israel the shelter of your peace. That was the vision of Rabbi Herzog. Israel was to be a refuge of peace. All we asked for was a place where we could live in peace. Ushlach orecha v'amitecha l'rasheha sorav yotzeha. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who are defending our holy land, and deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. And then the final blessing, which in Jewish tradition, the final blessing sums up the essence of what it is we're saying. Here's the final blessing, the essence. Bless the land with peace, and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say amen. That was what, in 1948, that was all they wanted. The Declaration of Independence for the State of Israel simply, it spelled out that we wanted to create a land where everyone who was there, Jews, Arabs, Christians, Muslims, everyone who was there could live together in peace. That was the vision for the state of Israel. That is the vision that we continue to press for. And in our particular prayer book, and many prayer books, this prayer appears on the same page as a prayer for peace, where we repeat the words of the prophet, "V'lo yisagoy al goy charev, v'lo yilmadu od milchama." For nation shall not threaten nation, neither shall they know war anymore. That prayer for peace is as much a part of the prayer for the state of Israel, and it is our prayer today. Simply to live in peace. Simply to live without threats and violence. May it happen soon. In Israel, in the Middle East, throughout the Middle East, in every place where there is conflict, including in Ukraine and Russia, and anywhere else in the world where there is conflict. May there soon be peace. That's our prayer. In a moment, we're going to say the Kaddish prayer. It ends every single prayer service. Every single prayer service, we always end with the same words. May the one who makes peace above bring peace here to us. That's how we end our prayers. And so I'll invite you to join me for the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabam b'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael b'hagala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabam v'varach v'olam li'amei amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yidadar v'yidaleh v'yidalal shemei d'kudisha barichu Li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who brings peace above make peace for us, for Israel, for the entire world. And let us say amen. Thank you, friends, for being with me. Have a good week.